evening, SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery. He's getting this close to the diffuser.
All you got to do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side coming into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to another exciting stream here as we bring you Division 1 action from SRA GT3 Team Series. We're in round 5 here at Valencia, and we're strapping in for an excellent race tonight as we see someone try to challenge Michael Manning and his dominance of D1 so far this season. And with me in the booth tonight, even though you can't see his picture on screen because he just joined me a little bit late, I got Cody Platt with me in the booth. How you doing tonight, Cody?
I'm doing great, Dudley. Ready for some fantastic, exciting racing. Looking to see if we just might have a chance at seeing a brand new winner out there this season.
Boy, wouldn't that be great to see somebody else challenge for the lead position. So far, Michael Manning has dominated all the tracks this season, and we will see what he can do again tonight at Valencia. Speaking of our track, let's take a look at it tonight. We are in Valencia in Spain, just over 4 kilometers around, 2.5 miles. There's 14 turns crammed in here. Very challenging track, lots of curve usage. I believe this was originally a MotoGP track and been recently started to be used by other race series, and causes some exciting racing, some tight corners for sure. Cody, where do you see the most overtaking happening out there tonight?
Most overtaking happening tonight's definitely going to be in the last corner. I think that it really opens up an opportunity there because of the previous really fast right-hand kink braking zone being a spot that's going to cause a lot of variety, as it really requires a lot of focus and tact to get perfect every time. And if you don't get it perfect, you slow down. So sometimes it can create an opportunity in that last corner. Beyond that, I foresee very little side-by-side racing.
It is difficult to get side by side. This track a little bit narrow in spots, and we will see what these D1 drivers can do. But before we do that, we got to take a quick break to thank a few people that make this possible. We just want to shout out a huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting here at SRA, and also a huge shout to our admins and all the stewards and everyone else who help out to make fair and good racing happen in this awesome group of guys that want to go out and have good races. We also have awesome support from Documize, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documize.com to learn more today. We also have support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. We want to shout a big thank you out to our affiliates. We have Track Racer, Armentario, and Go Setups. Track Racer helps you experience redefined gaming with high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE SRATE at checkout to support us. Armentario is a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. I use it, and I enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced heads-up display. It totally changed the way I experience ACC. Also, a big shout-out to Go Setups. Esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link in our Discord and take your drive to the next level. With that out of the way, let's take a look at our point standings. As mentioned, Michael Manning has just dominated so far this season, out to a huge lead, 76 points ahead of Jess Spangler in second place. Travis Nordstrom close behind him. only 7 points back. And Peter O'Brien holding down 4th place. Mr. Sir, Manning's teammate, is holding down 5th place. And I'm being told from inside information that he may have the pace to be challenging for the win tonight, as he's finally decided he's sick of his teammate being the faster one on the team. Cody, what are you seeing out there in our standings?
You know, I think you might be onto something. The standings do kind of speak for themselves. You know, we do have Manning kind of far out there in the lead. We've been wondering this season if anybody's going to get out there and challenge him or if he's just going to run away with it. Well, if there's ever a race so far where he may be challenged, it's going to be this one. As just looking at the practice timings, there are a good 5 or 6 drivers who all are just right on pace with him. I think all of them being within like 500ths of the same time in terms of hot laps, and pretty close on hot stints as well. But someone I'm going to be looking at pretty closely is his teammate, Mr. Sir. Not only is he up there with, I think, the 4th fastest time, just like, 300ths off of him, but he has been looking super comfortable on the track, and just might be his time. I know Jeff Spangler's looking really quick too, so it'll be important to keep our eye on him as well.
Yeah, well said, well said. And it's great to see such a fantastic mix of cars in our top 6. We have pretty much every car you could think of in the main league of the game. I mean, we've got a BMW out front, a McLaren in 2nd, a Porsche in 3rd, an Audi in 4th, another BMW in 5th, but then a Ferrari in 6th, and a Mercedes in 7th, and an Aston Martin in 8th. So literally all of them to play for, and just another testament to the awesome BOP that our awesome admins have put together. And it's been a ton of work to really refine the BOP, but they've been doing a great job. So big thanks to them for that. And as we get ready for some race action, our drivers are just finishing up their practice laps, getting things dialed in one last time before we go hot in our qualifying session. And just going to take a quick look again here at our team standings. As expected, Manning and Mr. Sir and Madhouse XCM, Max Schnell, is they're out front by quite a bit. They've both done very well. Obviously, with Manning winning every race so far, that scored a lot of points for him. But Mr. Sir has been no slouch either. I believe he's finished, if not top 5, top 10 every race, and it's been it shows in the standings. The other teams don't have much to play for first place, but there is a close battle for 2nd with Kevin Lau, Jeff Spangler, Madhouse Racing, Delinquent Road Hazards in their McLaren team. They're fighting close with TSE Audi This World, Peter O'Brien and Jordan Nixon doing a fantastic job bringing that Audi team up to 3rd place in our team standings. And we look forward to what kind of action they can all bring us tonight. Anybody further down the list you want to shout out on there, Cody?
Nobody too specific. I do want to hop on and add to one of the teams you mentioned, the Audi This World team. Something I've noticed is that they've been seeming to get progressively faster as the season goes on. And it'll be interesting to see if they can overtake number 2 this weekend, or if maybe they'll have a chance to get somewhat closer to number 1.
Yeah, but as you said, Jeff Spangler could be challenging for that top spot tonight as well. We'll keep our eyes on him. We'll keep our eyes on all these drivers as we get set to go here with some qualifying action. We're just waiting for our qualifying server to come up and get these boys out on track. Our silver drivers will qualify first. And in our silver standings, just to take a quick look back at that, our top silver driver is Patrick Rust, and he's followed closely by Andrew Wilson. So and Austin Carpenter right there as well. Samedo, they're all to play for. Samedo and Carpenter actually tied for 3rd place in our silver championship. So everything to play for our silver drivers out there too. We look forward to seeing what kind of action they will bring to us this evening, as well as our gold drivers. All deserve credit, all fantastic drivers out on the track, and it looks like our qualifying session has gone live, so we will switch over to our race action. And here we go. We have some cars on track lining up at the end of the pit lane, getting ready to go out and do some hot laps. Cody, who do you
There
think's
I
going to
am.
take our pole tonight?
Well, I gotta go with the smart choice and say Minning, but like I was saying, I do think Sir has a chance to overtake him in terms of getting into that top spot. And if anybody else has a chance, it's going to be Jeff Spangler. But if I had to put money on it, I've got to go with the safe bet. Got to say Michael Minning.
All right, that is always a safe bet. So
Right.
far, you couldn't have been too wrong if you bet on Minning for every race this season, right?
Yeah, you'd probably be a pretty happy guy.
No question. And we are just getting a few more things set up here as our drivers get ready to go. And we will get some action out on the track for you. Just doing a few things in the background that nobody really needs to know about. And
Trade secrets.
trade secrets, exactly.
Purple 7 said that I sound a little far away. I got a little closer to my mic. You can let me know if it's better or worse. Make sure I sound good for you guys.
We'll give him just a little bump on the volume, too. Let's give that a test.
Just as much better now.
Awesome. Thanks for
I
jumping
saw-
in the booth tonight, Cody. Appreciate you stepping in as Maxie is out for this week. He's got some personal business to attend to, as I was out last week. Apologies for that, folks. Glad to be back.
Absolutely happy to be here and happy to help out.
All right, we do have some silver drivers out on track here as we get ready to go. Seems like we have some game audio happening, so that's good. Everything seems to be working well. Let us know in the chat if anything else needs to be tweaked a little bit as we dial things in here this evening. And right now we're following Mr. Drivis out there as he puts that Aston Martin through the paces, warming up the tires. Patrick Rust, also, I believe, yeah, our silver championship leader currently, as he works to continue to secure that lead. We'll see what kind of action he can bring us this evening.
While we're out here watching the silvers go around, I do have to point out, kind of shout out my season 8 teammate in Andrew Wilson, and really just say that I think he has a good shot at the silver pole today. Been driving with him a bit through the week, and he has been a lot faster than me. He's also looking pretty good on the timesheet.
Yeah, as we put Wilson on your camera here, throwing his McLaren through the paces here on this track as we check out some overhead shots of our Spanish racetrack this evening. Looking forward to see what kind of action we can get into here as they begin their first hot laps around the track. Drivis is out front already with a 130.985, so just shy of a 131. And we will probably see that time come down as the track has just actually switched to optimum status. And so we will look for those times to drop as it gets rubbered in and warmed up out there. And also we get some drivers warmed up and ready to push their car further closer to the limit. Mr. Crown out there in his McLaren as well, putting in some decent times, and we will see what kind of times he can come with as he crosses the line right now. Doesn't look like he's going to improve on this lap. Nope. He actually lost a position there as a few other people. Wilson, as we mentioned earlier, he improves his time, jumps up to second place with a 130.95 as our pole position. Travis has moved up to 130.78, so a 130.8 for all essential purposes is our current provisional pole time.
Good time.
Absolutely. We have 30 drivers with us tonight, and we look forward to each one of them getting some time on camera. If there's a driver in particular that you would like to see on camera that we're not getting on there, shout them out in the chat, and we would love to get them some camera time.
Durance looks to be improving very heavily on his time as he enters Sector 3.
Yeah, Danny Durant's up over half a second point. Yeah, 6/10 now as he slings his Mercedes around the track. Oh boy, he gets awful wide right there. Let's see if he kept it in track limits. I think he would have. You can go all the way out to the edge of the curbing there. Might have cost him a little bit of time though, as he hit the bump a little hard there on the exit. But
Nails
he's still
the last corner though.
And nails it. Yeah, still 6/10 up as he's coming to the line, holding it down the straight, and sure enough, he jumps all the way to our pole position with a 130.72.
Very nice lap. Came in super clutch there at the end. Like you were saying, he went a little wide, lost time, but made it all back up in that final corner.
And that's what you got to do. If you lose time in one corner, you got to try to make up another. But when you're already at the limit, it's hard to do that, right?
Right. Andrew Wilson slotted up one more position, passing Dreebs for the moment. He's now only 200ths behind Durance.
Very close in our top three, all in the 130.7, so all within a tenth of each other as they battle it out for our silver pole. Rust, our current silver championship leader, in fourth place, hoping to get into the 130s here as he is on another lap now with some slight improvement to it. Hopefully he can carry that out. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a ride on board here as he does some of his lap. He's up over just 2/10 now and continues to improve through this section of the course.
2/10 in that top 5 is going to be very valuable.
Travis sticks it back on pole with a 130.7, so just a slightly faster 130.717 now. And
John Brown moves up above Rust by one position.
And Rust takes it right back.
Just for him to take it back.
He says, no, you don't. I'm keeping that fourth place position as he moves into the 130s, just slightly behind our top three. We got some guys further down making some good laps at this point. Carpenter about to finish his lap. He's about 4/10 up, and sure enough, that jumps him to P5 on our provisional standings.
Nice time from Austin there. Only 2/10 off pole, so, you know, any of these guys in the top 6 or so definitely have a shot at getting up there here today.
Yeah, I'd take a top 5 at D1 any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
We got Panzer Rigatoni rooting for Dan Cran and Kelvin Lau in the chat here. Thanks for the shout out. He needs those fantasy points. He's rooting for his fantasy drivers. That's fantastic.
Don't we all? John Crown's got a solid improvement on the board as he's rounding out the final sector.
Yeah, he's up about 2/10 as he comes finishing his lap here, coming down the front straight. Let's see if he can cross the line with that, and he does. He jumps to P5, just ahead of Rust again. See if Rust can take it back, but it doesn't look like he's going to improve this lap. Just barely, maybe, as he's coming to the end of his lap. And nope, no improvement from him as he begins another lap. He will get one more shot at it. This will be the silver driver's final lap as we're getting near that 10-minute mark where our gold drivers will take the course and our silver drivers will be required to return to the pit lane. Fazli Majid already has done that. He's decided he's done the best he can do with a 1:30.762. Fantastic lap out of him to take P4. So he jumped ahead of both Crown and Rust and said that was good enough. That's all I've got. It looks like we had a little bit of a blip there for a second. Not sure what exactly happened. I think Fazli might have had to leave the server, and that kind of freaked out my telemetry for a second. Sorry about that, folks.
I think it might have freaked out the telemetry of a couple people. I saw about 5 or 6 people who were improving were suddenly not improving. So
Yeah, it looked like there was a fairly large server glitch, so hopefully everything turns out okay here. We don't have any issues. I know last week's race was a little bit of a disappointment with the climax being a little anticlimactic as far as the race ending a little bit early and such like that. But hopefully no problems this week, and we will hope to have a good, solid race all the way till the checkered flag.
no problems. Yeah, it looks like
Fantastic shot at Danny Durance's car here.
really nice looking livery. That'll be it for the silver drivers, I believe.
Yes.
As none of them appeared to be running a lap there late.
So, Drevis out front as your silver provisional pole sitter. Silver pole sitter at this point. Danny Durant's very close behind. Only 8 thousandths separate those two, and 30 thousandths back to third place with Wilson. Fazli Majid not far behind in fourth, and Crown in fifth. Rust in sixth. Carpenter in seventh. All separated by less than a second through our top 12, and we will surely see many of the gold drivers fill that gap as they take the track and get ready to go racing here around Valencia. Let's hop on board with our current championship leader and all-around D1 dominator at this point, Michael Menning.
Who else but Minning?
This should be his first hot lap about to come in here as he has already completed his warm-up lap.
So do you have a favorite for pole tonight?
You know, I'm gonna say it's got to be one of the two BMWs. And so, I mean, you went with Minning. I'm gonna go with Sir.
All right. BMW might be not the fastest car here. At least that's what I've heard from some of our teammates.
Finally, the mid-engine cars get the respect they deserve. All these front-engine cars dominating for so long. And sure enough, we get our first hot lap out of Menning. And where does he go? Straight to the pole. 2 tenths ahead of his teammate, Mr. Sir, as both of them quickly outshine our silver drivers by beating their laps on their very first lap. Spangler also jumps ahead to P3 as we see the gold times continue to pour in.
Very nice times by those three. Of course, very predictable already. What a fantastic time for your banker lap.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, I don't think I would ever achieve that lap time, and they put it in as their safe one. So
No kidding.
And Alvarado making that Honda work again. It's amazing. I actually drove that car for the first race this season and then switched out of it because I just couldn't be competitive in it. The fact that he brings it to second place, only a tenth off of our leader, is it's pretty incredible.
Pretty dang impressive.
Shout out to everybody in the chat and watching our stream. Thanks for joining us tonight, and hope you're enjoying the action. If there's anything you'd like to see, maybe some more onboards or an onboard with a particular driver, be sure to shout it out, and we will try to make that happen. And also, just appreciate all the help you guys give. Lots of times you'll spot a yellow flag or a drive-through penalty before we will, because we're trying to monitor so many things over here. So thanks again for joining us.
Your wishes are our commands. Thanks for keeping us busy.
No doubt. So we look to bring you a seamless and fun broadcast this evening of our top division here in SRA. We just want to see the racing continue to be competitive, as Rado sticks his Honda up now as well in P3, as our pole time has come down even lower, almost to a 1:30 flat, with Minning putting another faster lap in. Spangler now in second, just 0.2 off of him. And Rado stuck the other Honda. He sticks that up P3, just another 10th off of P2. Sir's got some work to do if he's going to be taking that pole. Come on, man. I bet on you. Let's go. Oh, he made up some big time through that corner.
Oh, yeah.
It's right on board here as he slings it through the second section of this course. Into the third section now. Coming into the final corner, actually, as he gets as wide out on the curbing to get as good of an entry into the corner. Slides it out far on the exit. Continues to build time, but he looks like he's losing just a little bit down the straightaway here. Minning's got a yellow flag out. Looks like he stopped and called it an evening. Decided he put in the best lap he could with a 1:29.9. And we will see if anybody can best that. He's got quite the amount of confidence. With 4 minutes left in qualifying, he decided, well, that's enough.
He's getting the headphones on to cheer Mr. Sir on.
We could probably pull him in for an interview real fast.
29.93 is fast, but it is, it's right in line with what those top 5 guys on the leaderboards have been able to do.
Oh, and actually, he's going out again. Wow. I just had another huge server glitch. Sorry about this, folks. Apparently my connection, or some connection, is not doing the best this evening.
Something going on. Possible for it to clear up once the server flips to the next session, as we didn't see any in the previous sessions at all before they flipped to this, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Get a good look at Kevin Lau here and his McLaren, as he's up about 0.4 on his previous best lap. That could move him up quite a few places in this very, very tight qualifying field. That could jump him all the way up to a top 10 qualifying position, as he currently sits in 20th. Let's see where it jumps. Sure enough, 10th place.
I'm sure he's happy about that jump.
Yeah, that's quite an improvement on his lap, and we still got a couple more as these guys continue to round out their laps. They will probably all have a couple more attempts, and Manning decided to come back out. So I in one of the interviews that I talked to him before, he actually said that he finds that the tires go off after those first 2 laps, which I'm sure at the level he's pushing the tires, they probably do. So he thinks, I'm not going to go any faster than I do in those first couple, and he's going to get those first couple again, essentially.
I think I can actually totally echo that. Usually I'm totally fine. Usually my fastest lap is the last one of quali. But here, I think I've noticed that on that last lap, I can't do it. I don't get an improvement on that last lap of my quali fuel load. And actually last night I ran on a server where the quali was 20 minutes, and I had to pit because there was just no way at like minute 11 that I could keep pushing. So
oh yeah,
I definitely think that fall off's real.
Definitely. By the 20-minute mark, no doubt. By the 10-minute mark, I'm not sure. I mean, I know if I'm pushing too hard at the beginning of a race, I'll see tire fall off around the 13 to 14-minute mark for sure. And to the point where I'll be like, oh shoot, I pushed too hard, and pretty much my race pace is going to be ruined from there on out. But Yeah, and like I said, at the level that Manning and these guys are pushing these tires, I don't have any doubt that they could be using all the grip up in those first couple of laps. Manning not improving on this lap, but he will, I believe, get one more shot at it. Yes, he's going to start his final lap, hot lap now. Let's take a ride around Valencia, down the front straight here, getting ready for a very fast T1. Takes as wide entry as possible, brakes late, throws the car in. You can go extremely wide on this exit all the way out to the green stuff. And then hard braking for turn 2 as it slings all the way around into like almost a double apex kind of situation here. The second apex quite a far away as it's actually turn 3. And then another one straight back the other way here with some banking at least to assist you through these corners. But it starts to flatten out as you come out of this one. And even gets a little bit off camera on the outside of there. It could throw you a little bit. And then the hard left that you have to carry some good speed out of as you have a little back straightaway here as he gets out onto the green stuff. He's up about 300ths on his previous best attempt right now. He still holds pole. Long sweep left-hander that you have to continue to kind of trail brake through here, get wide on the exit, and set up the tightest corner on the track here into these right-handers, braking as you turn right into this hard right hairpin, and then accelerating out wide on this to a very tricky, fast right-hander where you can wash wide on the exit, but if you take too much, you're going to hit a large bump on this curb on the outside, but Manning dodges it perfectly, and this long sweep left-hander where the car can be quite unstable by the end of it. It's hard to judge your braking zone, but he gets it pretty well. Didn't get as wide of an entry there as I thought he might. Coming out of the final corner, gets out onto the green stuff, lays down the traction, gets on the loud pedal. He's a 10th up on this lap, already holding the pole, and that will almost surely cement the pole position for him this evening.
Definitely nobody going to challenge that.
Flamger still finishing up a lap out here. He jumps up to P9 as we round out our qualifying. Manning on pole, Spangler in second, Mr. Sir third, Dan Cran in fourth. Robinson coming home in fifth. We didn't talk much about him. Rados bringing home his Honda in sixth. Alvarado bringing home the other Honda in seventh. Specht, BMW, another BMW in eighth place. And Flamger and O'Brien rounding out your top 10 as we get ready for our grid walk.
A couple of follow-ups. Mr. Sir, while he did get a great time in, did not top minning. Same with Spangler, excellent time. Couldn't quite best minning, but let's see what happens in turn 1.
All right, Cody, let's count them down. You got our qualifying order there in front of you somewhere?
I do.
Excellent.
So starting from the front, we've got Minning. In second, we've got Spangler. And in third, rounding those guys out, we've got Mr. Sir. Past that, we've got Dan Cran in the Ferrari and Travis Robinson in the Porsche. Then we've got Rados and Alvarado in those Hondas, making a big surprise entrance up front there. We've got Nate Specht in the BMW, followed by Timothy Flamger, Peter O'Brien, and then Matt Lehman in that beautiful BMW. Just behind him, we've got Kelvin Lau, Coadromo, Diego Fimbricasas, Nixon. Then we've got Marecki and Mercer in those great-looking Aston Martins. Just behind them, we've got Dreebies lined up alongside Durant's. And then right there, you see a cool yellow Pokemon McLaren. That's Andrew Wilson. Next to Fazli Majid. John Crown in that beautiful blue McLaren that I myself also rock. We've got Garrett, I think it's Gomer Wilson. Rust, Austin Carpenter, Louis in that cool-looking black Porsche. Followed by Ryder, Archie. Rounding them out, we've got Boardman and Schwartz.
Boardman and Schwartz rounding out your grid. Two guys that have been fairly fast this season, have been challenging for some top spots at times as we get ready to start out on our formation lap here at Valencia. Thanks for joining us this evening, and we will get these cars racing for you guys in no time.
I'm getting nervous just sitting here on the grid with them.
We will watch them head off into T1 from this position. as the flags blow in the wind. We will watch all the action as closely as we can. Thanks again for tuning in tonight, and we will hope to see if any of these guys that qualified further back on the grid can improve their position, as I'm sure they're eager to. And we will see if Michael Manning can hang on to that top spot, as I'm sure Jeff Spangler is eager to take it away from him. Mr. Sir also going to be wanting a challenge for that top spot. I'm sure he's sick of being outshined by his teammate. And don't discount Dan Cran bringing a Ferrari all the way up to the 4th place. And Travis Robinson as well in his McLaren. And also the 2 Hondas there, they could make a run. 2 teammates being next to each other on the grid is always a thing that you can do a little bit of stuff. You can work together. You can get something going that guys that are battling with each other might not be able to do.
There's going to be a lot of interesting things happening here today. Something to note, it looks like Peter O'Brien might be starting the race with a 30-second penalty that's going to be applied to his pit stop. He's in P10 in the Audi.
That will hurt. Our pit stop time tonight, I did not get the reference yet as far as how much time is usually lost in our pit stops, but adding time to it is never a way to win a race, that's for sure.
Right. It is going to be a relatively quick one here, as it's a straightforward pit lane.
Reed O'Brien in that beautiful looking Audi livery as he gets around to warm things up. Oh boy, we are continuing to have some server issues here, folks. Apologies for that. But we are lining them up 2 by 2 as we get ready to go racing here at Valencia. And we will see if those 2 BMWs can pull out straight to the front and work together as teammates as they have previously this season. We'll see if Michael Manning can hang on to his perfect win streak and pole streak for this season so far, as he has the inside into T1. Jeff Spangler will try to bring that McLaren around the outside. As they come to the line, we get ready to go green flag racing here at SRA Division 1 at Valencia.
Mr. Sir riding right behind Minning.
And he'll have green flag, and we are away. It looks like Manning gets a big jump off the start. He's well away out in front of the McLaren of Spangler as they go into T1. Perfect gap all the way around. They slot in behind each other, and I don't see too many yellow flags further down. I see some shuffles positions, but nothing too alarming back there as they are nose to tail quickly going to the fastest line. Oh, we do have, unfortunately, we have some collisions further back here, as it seems like a few drivers have piled up and are losing control. Some positions lost for sure there. Wilson, Marecki have tumbled all the way down the standings as they both went very wide. But it looks like everything's sorted out and people are back on track now. Unfortunately, that would definitely put a dent in some people's races, as our silver drivers have kind of actually grouped themselves. The gold drivers actually did almost all qualify in front of our silver drivers this evening. But jumping back out front, it does look like Manning has cemented his lead, and Sir has followed right in 3rd place there. But Cran sticking right on them, keeping the pressure on there in 4th place.
Dan Cran putting that Ferrari to work and keeping it right on the back of Mr. Sir. Also impressed by Spangler's drive so far. It looks like he definitely has the will to attempt to keep up. Although as I say that, I do see Mr. Sir Minning walking away a little bit, as we see some of our first drivers enter into the pits as well.
It looks like we've got a few people from further up the grid who decided, you know what, I'm not going to waste any time in traffic. We're going to get this pit stop out of the way. Looks like Ryder had some issues and took a yellow flag. I'm sure some of them have damage from the contact we saw in the corner. It looks like overall we have about 7 cars hitting our pit lane right now, and we will see where they shuffle back out, and we will keep track of how that undercut works for them throughout this race.
Something that'll be that'll be good to point out as we talk about the pit strategy a little bit. This track at this temperature is going to be extremely, extremely tough on the driver's tires. I know we had our practice race yesterday, and at the end of it, I had degradation in the rears in the ones, so almost burnt halfway through my tires in just 30 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a bit. And I mean, these aren't extremely high track temperatures. This is almost the ideal track temperature you'd see in a hot lapping mode here in the sim. So it's just that hard of a track on tires. But we'll see if any drivers decide to actually take some fresh tires. That would be a hard thing to do. We saw Minning try it one time last season when he was battling for the top positions against Kerstetter, and he did actually come back and take the position, but it wasn't. He probably would have won the race if he hadn't taken tires, and he admitted that it was ultimately not the best strategy. So in these hour-long races, when you don't have to take tires, it's almost always a better strategy to not take them, because trying to make up that amount of time in just under an hour is very difficult to do. And we currently have a tie for our purple lap here, as P1 and 2 have both set identical lap times here for the fastest lap at a 1:30.765. That's on full race fuel, folks. They just went out there and did a 1:30.76.
We might be in for a nice battle today.
Mr. Sir dropping back a little bit, but still right there in the picture, as Spangler tries to keep Manning honest out front, and Dan Cran chasing close behind that. Further down the field in our silver division, we have Drevis holding on right behind Nixon, just outside the top 10 there. Looks like he's putting some decent pressure on him. Crown's falling a little bit further back for P2 and silver, and Rust, our silver championship leader, is just behind him in third place silver, as they bring up the 11 through 14 spots, or 11 through 13 spots, excuse me. A little further back, we have Flamger. I believe he was involved in one of the incidents early on there, and a few other people as well. And we will continue to monitor how they fare through the field. It looks like Spangler now has dropped back, as Manning put in a dynamite lap. It was an invalid lap, but it was a 1:30.64. So it isn't the purple lap, because he did exceed track limits. But holy smokes, to go out there and put a 1:30.6 down on basically lap 3, that's pretty smoking fast.
Pretty ridiculous. And as Jeff Spangler did leave a few tenths, like 3 or 4 tenths on the table on that last lap, Mr. Sir had a good one and is now, as you can see, right on the back of him. So he's going to be challenging him and potentially slowing him down even more, so that Minning can get a jump out ahead and maybe start to run away.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure Sir would like that for 2 reasons. He'd like P2, and he'd like to see his teammates stretch that gap further out front. Although I think he'd actually like to catch his team.
Oh, yeah.
We're just about 5 or 6 minutes in to our broadcast, or our race time this evening, as we saw a few drivers hit the pit lane so far. It looks like our average pit time is going to be around 34 seconds of actual lost time in the pit lane. Factor in the speeding up and slowing down, you might be close to 40 seconds total loss in your delta for the lap. Time stopped would be a perfect 5 seconds if you're just taking a splash and dash. It does look like Flamger had to repair some damage, and but most other people, looks like they got it in just about the average pit time. And looks like Nate Specht has decided to take his chance in the pit. He's down and away with a perfect 5-second stopped time as he exits the pit lane. So we continue to monitor the action out front. Going through the speed trap, Mr. Sir actually has the highest speed recorded at 253 kilometers an hour. But he's only done that by 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers an hour over his teammate out front. So maybe with that draft, he just got that extra 2 kilometers an hour behind Spangler.
Makes sense.
not really much draft to speak of here in these GT3 cars.
Looking at the times a little bit that they're doing, I think that the drivers leading those who have already pit maybe made the right call as they're coming out and doing some slightly better times as their counterparts.
And as you say that, the Mr. Sir decides, you know what, it's going to be tough getting around Spangler here. He's slowing me up. I'm heading the pit lane. Hopefully I can undercut him and overtake him that way. So looking for Mr. Sir to come out in a nice gap here. We'll see and try to keep track of where he comes out as far as if he's going to hit even slower traffic than he was stuck behind. It's always a kind of a gamble jumping into the pit lane this early, especially when you're out in the front pack and you know you're with fast guys. If you end up back, right now he's already back to almost P20, and if you know he comes out with guys battling back there, they're not in any force to give up that position at all just because he's a faster driver. As we see Nate Specht throw a yellow flag out here, I think it might have just, I'm not really sure why that threw a yellow flag. Not sure what was going on there, but we'll continue to monitor as Sir does come out of the pit lane there with a perfect 5-second stop, 34 seconds total in the pit lane, and he has fallen to 18th, but it does look like he has about a 7-second gap, so he will be able to hot lap here for a little bit with no one to slow him down, and that might just be enough if he doesn't get slowed down too much later that he would overtake Spangler if Spangler doesn't continue to press in those laps. I know I've had it where if a guy's right on my bumper and I'm pushing hard and then he kind of goes away, it's easy to all of a sudden like lose the adrenaline and not push the car as hard, and next thing you know your lap times are just not quite as sharp as they would have been, and you end up losing that spot.
It can be hard just not knowing what they're doing too. Like, do I need to push more? Am I pushing too much? And then you might find out later on when they when you come out of the pits or they come out of the pits and they're in front of you.
Yep, it becomes a guessing game for sure. Your opponent's not there in your rear view mirror anymore.
Now, I will point out, so far, really nice. Seems to be a really nice strategy from Mr. Sir as it's played out. I know that he probably had a hand at helping that gap grow between Spangler and Minning, and then goes for the early pit to try to get the undercut, and now finds himself in a really great spot on track. It'll be interesting to see how well that pays off.
We'll continue to compare those lap times as Mr. Sir hasn't recorded one since the pit yet, but Spangler has continued to run in the high 130 range for most of his laps so far. And if he stays on that pace, we will see if Mr. Sir can better that pace with the gap he's found himself in further down. He is behind silver drivers down there, and a lot of those silver drivers might not pit till way later in the race, and if he has to overtake them, that could cost him quite a bit of time. But yeah, definitely has Minning has stretched that gap to over 3 seconds now out front, and our closest battle behind that is still Drevis with our pole position in silver, pushing on Nixon for that for now that is currently the eighth position, and he is putting in some really good pace as he is left Crown over a second behind him. Some of our drivers involved in the incident early on have filtered further back here in the 20th positions and so on, as Mercer here putting some pressure on Nate Specht, the Aston Martin chasing that BMW.
A lot of really close drivers here already. About 6 or 7 were there within half a second of the guy in front. Especially Dreebs, as he is just getting wildly close to Nixon.
Gomer Wilson, who we mentioned earlier as well, I believe he was unfortunately involved in that early incident, but he is looking to make up positions. He is catching fast on the back of Fazli Majid here as he looks to take 27th place away from him. But definitely Drevis looks like he's going to try for the overtake right here, maybe around the outside. Wow, really trying to stick it in, and might have just thrown him off enough as he tries the over-under into the next corner maybe. It's going to be tricky through this section here for sure as we get an overhead shot here of the race action. Let's see if he could, wow, really diving it in there on the inside. He is looking every which way for a way around that Audi right now. I'm sure he feels like he's getting slowed down. I wouldn't be surprised if he might head for a pit stop here and just try to get himself some clean air further back, as he's not really battling Nixon. I mean, he's probably having fun doing it, but he's our silver driver leader right now. So if he gets slowed down and that brings Crown back up to him, that's really the battle he needs to worry about.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd definitely be thinking about pitting, though it might not be a successful move. Coming in from 9th and pitting might just put him in an even worse spot in terms of traffic.
No doubt. It's always a risk, especially, when you're in midfield like that. You could end up behind someone who's had some real problems further back, has lost concentration, and is just really not trying to keep the pace that you're trying to keep. And it could be a big cause for problems for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'd imagine the gap between him and where Mr. Sir was is probably about 15 seconds or so, maybe 20 seconds. And there was a pretty large gaggle of cars 10 to 15 seconds behind Mr. Sir, so I'd imagine he'd end up somewhere there, but it's hard to tell. He could be right on the cusp.
There's lots of tools out there that can help you estimate those things. I know sometimes I've used ACC Drive, which can give you kind of an estimate of where your pit out is going to place you as far as traffic goes, and if you can see that gap on your track map and pick your spot, that helps. But it's not 100% accurate, and you still never know how fast you're going to catch that guy, even if you do have a decent size gap. We're still monitoring Mr. Sir. He came out with close to a 7-second gap to Ryder, and he's already closed that down to 2.5 seconds. So he's quickly going to be coming up on traffic and losing time as Spangler continues to just lap right at a 131 basically out front. And if Sir has to slow down at all, which I mean it's inevitable. If you're going to overtake somebody, unless they give you the position, you're going to lose time. And as I said, none of these drivers are going to give positions unless they're blue flagged, and nobody's being blue flagged. They're all on the same lap, so there would not be any reason for someone to move over and hand a position to someone like Mr. Sir.
Oh yeah. Dreebs fell back for a little bit there. I was starting to think, maybe he's just fallen back and wants to keep pace, but nope, he's right back on him and itching to get that position once again.
Yeah, he may have had to step back and cool the tires. He was pushing really hard there, and when you're that close under the rear spoiler of a car in front of you, you can really start to push those front tires hard by losing that little bit of front downforce into every corner. And he was definitely pushing hard. He was tucking that nose in a few different spots around the track as he continues to try to search for the gap, place that he could possibly overtake and get that 8th spot away from Nixon. O'Brien has stretched the gap out in front of those in the other Audi, but unfortunately he does have that 30-second penalty, so he's going to drop quite a few spots as they just about get side by side here through this long sweep left-hander. Boy, that is a difficult spot to try to overtake. But Travis seems to be really pushing the limit to try to take that spot away, and he does not pit again. He's decided to try to settle this on the track. Further behind, we got a little bit of a train going here, actually, as 11th through 13th are pretty close. Rust, Louie, and Archie are all kind of trying to battle for position here. Louis pretty close to the back of Rust, as it looks like he may be thinking about a move. Porsche on Porsche action. Just about 20 minutes into this race now, as we see in total, we've had, I think, about half of our drivers almost pit already. And we will see if that works out. Obviously, Mr. Sir, if he can continue at the pace that he's at, he will continue, or he will come back up the standings quite a bit, as everybody in front of him still needs to pit. So he does go straight around Ryder. Not really sure if Ryder just let him by right there, or if it was more of a, yeah, I'm going to push by you because I'm quite a bit faster than you. Let's take a look at how he did this overtake here. Sure enough, he got a good exit here, got inside of him.
You know, I should point out, Mr. Sir is doing low 31s. His last lap was a 31.0. It looks like Spangler is doing mid 31s, and his last lap was a 31.4. So he might be in a perfect spot. Oh man, Nixon gets yellow flagged. It looks like there might have been contact there with Dreebies.
Let's see if we can catch what happened here. Looks like I'm on the wrong car. Sorry about this, folks. Looks like I missed it. Where did he end up? I can't find him right now. I think he may have...
It looks like he exited the race.
Exited the server, unfortunately. So sorry about that. We couldn't quite catch that replay because he had left the server. But yeah, I think Travis might have finally just gotten a little bit too impatient there after staring at that rear bumper. Unfortunate that resulted in somebody retiring from the race this evening.
Yeah, I didn't get a full look at the overtake attempt, so I can't say for sure that it was Dreams that was the cause or anything, but unfortunate that those guys got tangled up, or that something must have happened between them. As we're talking, Rados gets ahead of Robinson for P4.
Yeah, looks like that was a clean overtake. Let's take a look back here and see how he set this one up. Rados got inside of him through that long sweep left-hander and just took that position away into the final corner. He must have gotten a lot better exit out of the fast right-left combo onto that straight. And all it takes is a little bounce through the curbing on the outside to not have a good. And he does hold on to that position as he currently sits P4.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna have to look for in terms of overtakes here. And I think Rados just showed the inside enough to maybe push Robinson out and make him go a little too deep for that last corner. And then from there on, it was just as simple as giving it gas and waving at him through the window.
It's such a powerless feeling when somebody gets a run on you out of the corner and you just have to sit there and hope your car can go faster somehow magically, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
So we continue to look. Go ahead.
Sorry, he is staying right on the back of Rados, sticking within 4 or 5 tenths as he catches a big slide there on the curb and just manages to catch it. Now he's starting to drop off a little bit.
Yeah, they are definitely pushing to the limit right there, and we still have this train here in the midfield. Some of our closest racing here as Louis continues to look, and it looks like Russ gets a little wide. Sure enough, he's wide, and Louis is not going to let this opportunity pass. He takes that position down the front straight. Let's see if he can hold it into T1. Great side-by-side racing as these two give each other plenty of room and respect as they go through T1. And Louis does cement that 10th position ahead of Rust. And Rust looks like he's about to lose another position. Unfortunately, getting wide there again. Not sure if he's kind of lost concentration after he got a little wide back there, or if his tires are going off because of a setup issue. But he has lost 2 positions in less than a lap. Boardman also dropping a position to Marecki. See if we can go back and catch that action. Marecki just got inside of him here.
Really good run there.
Fantastic to just stick it inside, and Marecki wisely gave him the space, and he cemented that position ahead of him.
Yeah, I'll say these Aston Martins kind of scare me on this track. It looks like it's a really strong car here. As we saw earlier with Dreebs just being so able to stick to the back.
Absolutely. Mercer here still keeping a really close gap to Nate Specht in front of him as they try to sort out P19, which is not actually P19 because these guys have both pitted. So these guys are actually battling for quite a bit further up the field. It looks like Schwartz here lost a couple positions up front. I just saw him fall down the delta a little bit. What happened here? He got wide and just basically had to concede the positions, unfortunately, as that gave him a very poor run down the front straight, and basically there was nothing he could do at that point.
Had to catch himself while he was actually already in the grip zone, the traction zone, and just loses all of his straight line speed.
Unfortunate, as he was having a pretty good battle there with Rust. But Rust now close on the back of Archie in front of him, and Archie not far from Louis, as we have another three-way battle now for 10th place. Rados also closing fast on Dan Cran for P3. As we cut away to that action, let's take a look. He's been making up some ground quite a bit here. His lap times continue to be a couple of tenths faster than Dan Cran pretty much every lap. So also keeping an eye on that pit battle. Basically, Mr. Sir, he's lapping right now at a 131.4, and Spangler's about the same. So if Mr. Sir can keep up that pace, it's more than likely he's going to come out in front when Spangler has to pit.
Yeah, I think earlier on in the run, Mr. Sir was slightly faster. Now it seems to become about equalized. Interesting to see if that initial run gave him enough to get ahead or not.
Well, let's check some math here. I've never been that good at math. So Mr. Sir currently has a gap of 42.5 seconds to the leader. Spangler is 5.5 seconds off the leader. In the pit lane, you lose 34 to 35 seconds. By my math, currently Spangler would still just barely come out in front of Mr. Sir.
It's going to be a close one. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Speaking of excited, Mercer is a 10th off of Nate Specht, and does not show any signs of easing up here.
Yeah, these guys continue to battle for 19th through 21st. Coadroma there, bringing his Mercedes up the back end as well, and is going to pounce on any opportunity. If these guys get into too close of a battle, they're going to lose time, and he's going to try to swoop in. Oh, Mercer pushed too hard through there, lost a little bit of time into the final corner here, but boy, he is all over the back of Nate Specht as he tries to keep that BMW ahead in 19th position.
Yeah, that curb caught him, but right away he slips into the slipstream of the BMW and already right on his tail again.
Take a ride on board as he tries to chase down the BMW of Nate Specht.
Coadroma, though, has just about as big of a gap between him and Mercer now.
It's anybody's game for 19th place.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like Alvarado is keeping up with Sir back there as well, as two early pitters moving their way back up through the field.
By the way, Mr. Sir has about 7 seconds in front of him of clean air,
So does Spangler.
yeah, they're both hot lapping.
Unfortunately, the 7 seconds in front of Spangler is to Manning once again, who has walked away Max Verstappen style with the lead of this race.
Manning is just on another level this season.
Indeed, he's won every race so far. I believe qualified on pole every race so far.
Right now, his fastest lap is, I believe, over 2/10 faster than the next guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on my telemetry. So let's go back to an overhead shot here as we continue to watch this battle for what is currently 19th place, but will improve quite a bit as Boardman and Schwartz have moved all the way up to P14 and 15 after qualifying at the back of the grid, but they are still yet to pit. So they will have to give a lot of those spots back when they come in to take their mandatory 1 liter of fuel.
Waiting it out, though, and pitting late might work out for him.
Rado's putting
At
some
least a little bit.
real heavy pressure on Dan Cran here. Oh my gosh, he's wide through that corner. Loses a lot of time. Tried to go in there a little too deep.
I do not like following through that corner.
It is very hard to pick your turn-in spot when you're that close to a car in front of you.
He's actually losing time quite a bit to Robinson, who seems to have a good run on him. It's probably not going to be enough to challenge him on this corner, but has definitely slotted himself back into the battle.
For sure. And enough, if you do enough of those, getting wide through that fast section we were talking about and bouncing off that curb, you can have some tire pressure loss through that area as well, which can affect you later on in the race.
Oh, yeah. Especially as you're almost likely to get graining on your tires on this track for an hour.
Wow, Mercer runs right up the tailpipe of Nate Specht. So close to contact there, you could have held a piece of paper between those two cars.
Super close to him, just keeping the pressure dialed in.
As Ryder decides to duck in for his pit stop, he might have saw what was going on behind him and said, you know, that's enough for me. You guys are crazy.
Yeah, you guys have fun.
I'm kind of surprised Mercer hasn't looked for a different strategy at this point. It's obvious that Specht is holding him up. It's obvious that he's got quicker lap time. You know, but as you said, it's a gamble. If he knows the gap he has here, he knows the enemy he can see on track. Where, you know, you don't know what you're going to end up with if you jump into the pit lane right now. Our pitted cars and our non-pitted cars have a nice clean divide for us on our overall leaderboard as we see our green lighted pitted cars all the way up through P16 and P15 to P1 have yet to pit. So literally exactly half the field and perfectly divided up through our green and non-pitted drivers.
At exactly halfway through the race, exactly half of the drivers have pit.
Oh, looks like Alvarado might have gotten himself in some trouble here. He threw a yellow flag there. He once again got wide on that fast corner, and we will just see if he can make up that time. Let's go back and take a look and see what really happened to him here. Yep, he just got really wide, bounced on that curbing, got off into the gravel trap. Geez, he was able to turn that around faster than I thought he would be able to, but ended up losing 3 positions total, it looks like. Oh, maybe not. Did he? No, he let Koa go as well, which he should have. That's a wise choice.
Yep. 3 positions, maybe 6 or 7 seconds. That corner is not forgiving.
That shook up the battle a little bit here, as that was Specht, Mercer, and Dromo that had to go around him. It looks like Dromo lost out the most. His gap has widened, and of course now he's going to have the added pressure of Alvarado in just absolute red mist, trying to overtake again after a mistake like that. He's going to want those positions back right now. Taking a look again at our battle for the up front spots. Mr. Sir still got about a 3-second gap in front of him, so he can continue to lap at his own pace. He's running mid 131s. Spangler now starting to push to the higher 131s, but it's nip and tuck with these guys right now. It could be anybody's position. Looking now, Spangler has maintained just over a 6-second gap to Minning, and maybe Minning started to back off out front now, knowing, okay, I got a pretty good gap in hand. There's no reason to push that much harder. But Spangler, let's see, with about 6.5 to 7 seconds off our leader, and Sir still about 42.5 seconds off our leader. Boy, they literally, when Spangler pits, he would come out right next to, if not just in front of Mr. Sir.
Really exciting. Just got to start treating this like F1, you know? Who's going to get second place?
Yeah, it seems to be what we're watching it is Saturday now. That's the other weird thing, right?
Yeah.
Although I kind of like it.
Weird.
Still get to do the things I like to do on Sunday and, still catch the race on Saturday.
Right. And, I was going to make a comment about which of the two cars between the McLaren and the BMW is going to be better on tires late in the race. But honestly, I think both of those cars are pretty good as far as tire wear goes. It's really going to depend on setup and personal skill.
It's like Louis lost a spot here. Took a little too much curb on the inside, bounced out to the outside, and again, that fast right-hander coming on to the final little turn, left-hand sweeper into the final turn, catches another guy out, and he loses a position because of it.
Yep, probably shakes him up, and he immediately goes into the pits as well.
Yeah, it's going to go clear the head in the pit lane real quick. And he will be back out on track. Looks like he's going to venture back out P23 or so. Yeah, P23. Looks like he will get back on track just ahead of Durant's. Still doing well, though. Our silver drivers, Drevis still out front by quite a bit here. After he got some clear track, he pulled the gap on Crown by quite a bit. He's almost to a 6-second gap. So both our leaders in gold and silver are pulling a 6-second gap over their nearest competitor. Yeah, if you're not familiar with our drivers standings situation, we do have two classes in each division. So we have our gold class and silver class drivers, just to give everybody one more thing to battle for out there, and it keeps things exciting even amongst the divisions. With guys that might not be able to compete at the very top level of their division, they still get to compete for something in the mid-level of their division.
Yeah, gives us even more variety to watch and keeps it exciting.
Schwartz trying to make up a silver position right now as he continues to pile the pressure on Boardman, and Boardman and him both started at the very back, so they've pushed their way just in these positions all the way up to 13th and 14th. Now they are still the last of the people that have yet to pit, so depending on how all that shuffles out, who has pitted behind them that might have a large enough gap, we might see them make up a few spots, but I think there may have been some qualification bans involved with those. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
I'm not sure.
Rados still piling the pressure here on Dan Cran for what is currently P3. We'll see how that all shakes out, because Mr. Sir is most definitely going to slot back into that.
Speaking of Mr. Sir, he has caught up to Schwartz and is now going to start running into some blue flags. It's
looks like he might
start to slow him down a little.
Take Schwartz right here into T1, and Schwartz would be wise not to fight this. Both of them would lose time. and he pretty much does just concede the position, with neither one of them losing a drastic amount of time. Boardman decides to jump into the pit lane finally, and we will keep track of where he re-enters the track, and we will see if he's made up any net positions after starting at the very back of the grid.
Good to see from Mr. Sir. Looks like he now has about 6 or 7 seconds before he catches up to the next one.
Yeah, and he's still running those mid 131s. Spangler is a little over the mid 131s, so he's closing that gap. Spangler now just over 7 seconds behind Minning out front, and Mr. Sir, boy, he lost a little bit of time though too. He's 43.5 seconds now adrift from the leader back in 13th position. It is going to be so close, folks, when the top drivers finally do come in for their pit stops. They got about 22 minutes left to get those pit stops in. Anybody that's out front, though, that has clean air out in front, the wisest strategy is definitely to run your pit stop to the very last minute, because at that point, everyone else is going to have pitted as well. You're not going to end up in slow traffic. You're going to slot right back in with the drivers you're battling against.
By the way, Mercer drops behind Coadromo.
Oh, wow. Let's see if we can see that. We had Lau an overtake back here as well. But yeah, Dromo, now the one putting the pressure, as Dromo might have got a kick in the butt from Alvarado getting so much pressure on him, and Mercer now having to deal with that pressure. And it looks like Schwartz now, after he saw Boardman dive to the pits, decides to take his as well. It does look like Boardman did make up about 4 positions there from starting at the back of the grid. I believe Wilson, Flamger, and Ryder were all involved in that early on incident, unfortunately, on lap 1. Alvarado still continuing to pile on the pressure here on this closest battle here on the track, basically. Nate Specht kind of being the stopper in the bottle, and P14. Dromo, Mercer, and Alvarado all want that spot from him.
He's going to be driving hard to keep it. That BMW appears to feel pretty good here. I think I might have been wrong earlier.
Well, it looks like Manning has just decided to light the candle out front again. He's putting in some very fast laps compared to the rest of the grid. But Spangler looks like he had some trouble last lap. He's into the 132 mark. And that could be enough right there. He lost about a second to the leader on that. And we will see. That makes the gap... Gosh, it's so close, but it looks like it's fallen into Mr. Sir's favor at this point, as Lau and Wilson get into a battle here. Let's see if we can go back and catch what happened. Looks like they might have made contact, as Wilson maybe was having a little bit of a lag glitch, it possibly looks like. Something happened here, but not really sure. Yeah, okay, that might have been what threw the yellow flag. Ooh. Then is, yeah, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that is unfortunate. It looks like he was having connection issues, and that caused some problems here as he continues to have some connection issues. Hopefully that didn't mess up Lau's race too much or cause any damage to his car. Oh, wow, and Alvarado out front. And Mercer. They get into it. Let's see if we can go back and get this, as Alvarado was putting all kinds of pressure on the back of the Mercer's Aston Martin. He might have just finally gotten a little too impatient there and tried a move that didn't have enough room. Let's see if we can catch the action. Yeah, sure enough, just trying to push a little too hard, but did the gentlemanly thing, and looks like he just waited on track and let the position take itself back. And Lau also got by him during that time as well.
Good man.
Robinson dives into the pit lane.
Probably a great time to do it. Wilson's connection seems to be stabilizing. His car is not on ice skates anymore, it doesn't look like, so hopefully that continues to improve.
Yeah, it really breaks the immersion factor when we got a car skating around out there sideways, doesn't it?
Just a little bit. Rados, by the way, still fighting extremely hard for that P3. He's a 10th behind Dan Cran.
Dromo all over the back of Specht here, searching for a way through. And it looks like he may have gotten him a little bit spooked into that corner, but boy, Specht is holding on, ice in the veins to those positions after being under so much pressure from all these cars for so long. He's just continuing to drive his race, run his line, and if you can hold on to positions like that, that'll do you well in a championship.
Rado's still staying very close to the back of Dan Cran up in P4 and P3. Not quite close enough to make a move yet, but definitely keeping the pressure on. Much like Kelvin Lau is doing for Mercer, and Mercer is doing for, it says Wilson, but...
Yeah, Wilson's still having connection issues. He keeps throwing up yellow flags on the telemetry because it somehow plops the car down perpendicular, and Alvarado dives it inside Lau here on the final corner as they enter the front straight. Clean overtake there. I think Lau just kind of conceded, hey, you know what? You guys were battling here and you had an incident. I'm just going to get out of the way and let you guys go back at it.
Very nice look. Louis goes into the pits.
Louis finally taking his pit stop, as now we only have about 11 drivers left to make their pit stops. But yeah, out front, Rado's still piling the pressure on Dan Cran for P3. But it's going to be tough to get that overtake. Cran doing a fantastic job holding his race together. He's definitely put the time in this week. You can tell he's just extremely comfortable in that Ferrari, just putting it around the track. Consistent lap times, looking really good. Dromo all over the back of Specht here again, though. Every time I look at the Delta, it's like it can't get any smaller than that. But and he finally does get inside a little bit there, but has to cut his exit short, which loses him time down this short little straightaway. And here we are into this deadly fast right-hander. They both bounce off the curb on the outside. See if he can get anything done coming into the final corner here down the front straight, but it looks as if Specht will hold on with that BMW for at least one more lap. He gets a little loose on that corner. Dromo might have a run on him down the front straight here.
It's going to be real close here. He's definitely going to peek up, but not quite enough.
Yeah, tried to get him to guess in his mirrors there, as try to be a nuisance in the guy's mirrors in front of you, but Specht is not letting anything bother him, that's for sure. Minning out front has stretched the gap to almost 10 seconds at this point. And Spangler's still continuing to run mid to high 131s.
That was Mr. Sir, though.
Yeah, they're literally matching each other lap time for lap time up there, but it looks like the gap, Spangler's gap to Minning, has increased more than Mr. Sir's gap to Minning has. And at this point, when Spangler pits, I'm giving it to Sir.
I think you might be right. If I was Spangler's race engineer, maybe like 4 laps ago, I would have said, all right, pit now, get in front, and see if you can hold on.
Yep.
I think he'll be just on the fringe of maybe letting that window pass. Man, Dromo is all over Nate Specht.
Yeah, you can't get much closer than that in the GT3 car without having issues. And this is some fantastic racing, as these two have been battling for pretty much the whole race. Koa back there, Dromo, been holding up the caboose position of this train for a while, and now he's ready to take the lead engine spot as he tries it down into T1. Oh, he took a look, but it was definitely, he did not have any overlap. Wise choice to not try to dive that in there. See if he can mount another charge through this lap. Take a ride on board as he tries to gauge that gap from him into the BMW in front.
Yeah, that first corner can be tricky. Always looks like you might have a chance, and then you realize that it's an extremely fast corner and that there's no way you can make a dive happen.
Yeah, with no braking zone, it's very difficult to make an overtake happen like that because you're both going to be maintaining a fairly high rate of speed through the corner. And the main way you can finally shove in an overtake is by just, doing something a little bit different than you usually do in the braking zone. Well, with no braking zone, there's really no opportunity to do that. But he's definitely lapping faster than Specht at this point. Specht, it looks like he might even be struggling with those rear tires a little bit. Off of every corner, it looks as if the rear end's just wanting to come out a little bit on him as he gets on the throttle. Let's watch especially here, coming out of the final corner. Last lap, I noticed, as he got out to the exit, the rear end really kind of wanting to step out on him. That one looked pretty clean, but it still looks like Koa's got a pretty good run down the front straight here. Specht going a little bit defensive, parking it in the middle of the course. And Koa, just decides
Great
once
move
again.
by Specht.
Yeah, he parked that car perfectly defensively, didn't compromise his line too much, but Koa might still have a better run here. And he tries around the outside. Wow, he might try a little over-under action here, but yeah, that was a pretty difficult maneuver from that position.
It's going to be a hard one to stick, but I like that he tried.
Looks like Archie lost some positions too. Oh, he was pitting. That's what happened there. So he came out of the pit lane and lost some positions there. As we continue to monitor other things around the racetrack, it's easy to get caught up. Wilson continuing to throw up yellow flags on our telemetry because his connection issue continues, and hopefully that doesn't cause any more issues with anybody else. Rado's still under a half second to Dan Cran, fighting for P3. Dromo and Specht definitely the closest battle, but Lau's also keeping the pressure on Mercer back here. Mercer continuing to seem like he's struggling a little bit. No matter what car he's in front of, he seems to have somebody right on his bumper, and that's an uncomfortable place to be for the majority of the race. Marecki as well, very close behind Archie back here, as Archie just exited the pit lane, maybe trying to bring those tires back up to temp.
John Crown just went into the pits.
Crown in the pit lane. We got about just over 10 minutes left in this race as we will see the majority of our top drivers now. We got about 9 drivers still yet to pit. And let's visit our leader for a quick minute. 10 seconds out in front of the grid. Truly dominating this entire season and once again dominating this race.
John Crown comes out of the pits and slots into about 16th. It's like a pretty good spot for him.
Oh, looks like Dromo finally got the move done on Specht. Let's see if we can see this here. It looks like they finally did get side by side into T1, and Specht just had to respectfully give him the room, and that was enough of an open door. Oh, they fought it hard into T2 though, but once you have the inside there, yeah, once you have the inside there, it's very difficult to defend against that. So Koa being patient, waiting for the right time, and finally getting the move done. And it looks like Specht is continuing to struggle with the tires now on that BMW as he seems to be losing more and more pace. He's probably had to be pushing pretty hard to try to stay ahead of Koa this whole time.
It was a valiant effort, Nate.
Fantastic driving out of both of them. Closest battle now looks like Lau continuing to pile the pressure here on Mercer. And glad Lau doesn't appear to be suffering any ill effects or damage after that situation where Wilson's car kind of respawned right back inside of him for a split second there, which sometimes can cause phantom weird stuff to happen to your car. But it looks like he's still maintaining a pretty good pace if he's that close to Mercer. All right, our top drivers got to be thinking about that pit stop, and it's all up to them to nail it at this point. As we talked about earlier, Mr. Sir nailed his pit stop. Perfect 5-second time stopped, 34 seconds in the pit lane. So if Spangler does anything short of perfect, the spot is definitely lost, and the spot may already be lost simply because Mr. Sir's been lapping faster. They've quite a bit. Quite a few times I've seen on the Delta where he's lost less time to manning out front than Spangler has. Spangler now overtaking somebody as they come out of the pit lane. he continues to try to maintain that second position. Sir still has plenty of open track to lap in back here at this point. You know, he's up into the top 10 again. He's 2 silver drivers there in front of him, but they're maintaining a very good pace, and they will both pit very soon here, I would assume. That's still a pretty good lead that P1 and 2 and silver have. Especially P1. P1, both in gold and silver, have quite a bit run away with it.
Yeah, Dreeps has had an incredible race today. Honestly, same from Spangler, Gran, Rados, Menning, and Mr. Sirs. We'll see, I'm sure.
Oh, shoot. We missed it, chat, but thanks for keeping us filled in there. I guess Alvarado dropped out of the race after he got a drive-through penalty.
I did notice he went in for that drive-through. I thought he was going to be serving it, but yeah, on this track, it's a pretty big pain to grab one. Really easy to do, though, as track limits on this track are not kind.
Well, what's unkind about them is how wide they are from the actual limit of the track as it's drawn. So it's like, it's really hard for me, it's much harder to gauge. Okay, if it's the white line, then great. I know I have to keep a tire inside of that white line. But if it's the edge of the green curbing way out there, like that's, for some reason, that's harder for me to know that that's the track limit. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know, mentally, it's like you're encouraged to push out to that limit on this track, and it can be a little confusing. There are some where it's not even really the green curb that is the limit.
Yeah, and that to me is the hardest thing is, oh, on this corner it's the red and white curbing. On this corner it's the end of the green curbing, and on this corner it's the white line. And it's like, okay, well, why can't we just keep them the same every corner? There's white lines there for a reason, I thought, but...
Right. Reeves comes out in about 19th from his pit stop.
Yeah, so he will maintain the lead in silver almost definitely because he had a clean pit stop. Or actually he did not. He did not have a clean pit stop. 18 seconds stopped, 50 seconds overall lost in the pit lane. He must have missed his box or something. That is not a good pit stop, so that might very well hand P1 in silver to Rust again, who is our current silver championship leader.
It's going to be a heck of a performance from him if it does, as it's going to be him and Wilson up there. Probably a pretty clean amount away from the rest of the silver guys.
Closest battle currently on track is Marecki on Schwartz back here for 25th and 26th position. Everything else is fairly wide gap other than Rados chasing down Dan Cran, but that gap has stayed at a half second for the last 20 laps. I swear it hasn't moved at all. It's like there's a rope between these two, and they are just staying right at that distance. And it's all going to come down to who can have the cleanest pit stop here, as our last 7 pit stoppers have pretty much got to do it this lap. Our pit window is 58 minutes long, so with an hour-long race, there's a minute on each end where you cannot pit. But you don't want to all of a sudden find yourself going around a lap and realize, oh no, I can't make it back to the pit lane before the pit window ends.
Yep, I've missed it by like 3 seconds before. It's not a good feeling. We see Dan Cran goes in. Rados decides to stay out and is going to see if he can make somewhat of an overcut stick.
Yeah, if he can hot lap right now with some clean air for the first time, since not staring back at that Ferrari for the first time in this race, it's possible he could make an overcut happen. We will monitor Dan Cran's pit stop time here, as he is now stopped in the box. The clock is running, and he's, a little bit long. He took an extra second stopped in the box. So...
Okay.
He is going to have
be okay.
35 seconds lost on track. So he definitely falls behind Mr. Sir, which is expected.
Speaking of Mr. Sir, I've been watching him and Spengler's times, and their past 3 laps have all been identical. Not exactly identical, but at least to the 100th.
Yeah, they've averaged out to be pretty close. But so right now, Mr. Sir's gap to the leader, 48 seconds. Spangler's gap to the leader, 11 seconds. 35 seconds lost in the pit lane. Help me with the math, folks. Who's coming out in P2?
Sounding like Mr. Sir.
Whoa. Now we have Manning diving into the pit. I was like, wow, I just saw the gap to the leader decreasing rapidly. I was like, okay, he's pitting. That's what's happening.
Right.
It scared
I don't know
me.
what happened.
Spangler pits as
You see
well.
Spangler
Rattles into
pit.
the pit lane. We got them all coming into the pit lane here as we get our final pit stops with less than 2 minutes left here in this race. We will get Lehman. O'Brien, unfortunately, is going to have to take that 30-second penalty in the pit lane, so that's going to drop him down the standings quite a bit after he's had a fantastic race. Sure enough, Manning is down and away with a clean stop. Exactly 5 seconds stopped. 33 seconds lost in the pit lane. That's the fastest time in and out of the pit lane we've seen all night. Somehow he even pits faster than everybody else.
Let's see where Spangler comes out. It looks like he comes out just ahead of Mr. Sir.
He sure did, and he had to run it wide into T1 to make it happen, but he did. He is maintained that position, and Sir has got to be extremely frustrated to be right back behind the back end bumper of that McLaren, and he will try with all his might here in the last minute of this race to get that P2 overtake. I'm sure of it.
Oh man, knowing and seeing how close that is from his perspective, you just know he's kicking himself about maybe one little track mistake he made and how that could have been the difference.
Absolutely. Or one of the overtakes on one of the drivers that just cost him that extra half a second of time, and it literally could have been that. It does look like Spangler also had a very clean, or actually he didn't. Spangler didn't even have a very clean pit stop. He had 8 seconds stopped in the box, lost a total of 36 on the line. So
Wow.
he just maintained that gap very well.
How did that happen? I could have sworn Mr. Sir was lapping slightly quicker.
It sure looked like it every time I checked it, but there must have been ones we were missing somehow.
Yeah, must have.
But this is definitely our closest battle on track at this point. Rust and Archie back here. I originally thought Rust was going to maintain the silver lead, but it looks like Wilson actually. I must have misspoke because I didn't take into account the silver drivers that already pitted. So silver driver out front, Wilson. Manning obviously out front, big time at the lead of the race overall. Spangler under pressure for P2 as this race gets ready to conclude. We are on our final lap. I believe Manning is about to bring it home, as he is halfway through his final lap here.
He is. A couple more things to point out. Mr. Sir's getting closer to Spangler. Probably won't get a chance to make a dive happen, but it might be interesting. Dan Cran's pit strategy worked, and he stayed ahead of Rados. And Wilson has had an excellent drive, you know, despite being our resident dancer around the track. He manages, or is seemingly about to manage, P10 as a silver driver.
Now, was he the one having connection issues, or was it Gomer Wilson?
I think it was Andrew Wilson.
Okay.
And I think he qualified like P19 or P20. So this is a really impressive amount of overtakes.
Yeah, very good race for him. Might be our driver of the day. But Dan Cran's closing this gap on Mr. Sir as Manning crosses the line as your Week 5 winner here at Valencia. Spangler bringing home second place, about 15 seconds adrift there as he wags the tail across the line. Dan Cran celebrating as well. Mr. Sir, Rados, your top 5 rounded out. Robinson, P6, Lehman, 7th. Dromo bringing it home still here as he made a fantastic effort to get by Specht there, bringing it home 8th place. Specht just adrift to him, bringing it home 9th in his Beamer, and rounding out your top 10, our top silver driver, Wilson.
Very nice drive from him and everybody else in the top 10. Specht kept it super clean. And
Boardman trying to make a move here on the final lap. And
Oh,
it looks
boy.
like he's going to make it stick around the outside here, goes wide, and he's going to drag race to the line here to pull 20th place over Drevis, who had a fantastic race all night, but lost that position right there at the end. Boy, that's a heartbreaker for him, but fantastic racing out of them as we get one last little dose of excitement to wrap things up this evening. And that's it, folks. Your race here at Valencia is in the books.
That is just about it.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight, folks, and we are going to get some interviews going for you here.
Let's do it. I'm impressed to see positions 2 through 6 being as close as they were at the end. I mean, any of those 5 guys realistically could have been up there.
Yeah, it was definitely a close race. After the pit stops, it's always great to see it really shake out with the guys that pit early, and then when they come back out, and we can see, yeah, Dan Cran confirmed alien now, as we see that in the chat. It was a fantastic race out of him. He maintained that P4 the whole time, ice in his veins. Really fantastic job out of him.
Yeah, despite having tons of pressure behind him the entire race, we commented about how the gap was exactly half a second for like literally that whole race. What an excellent job from him, keeping it clean and staying ahead.
Yeah, fantastic job out of him. Big mention as well to Nate Specht as he kept the cork in the bottle for an extremely long time there with tons of pressure, 3 or 4 cars constantly wanting his position. Pretty cool to see that. He was able to keep it together under that amount of pressure. It's super difficult. See if we can get some drivers here. The D1 drivers are so into their racecraft, it's often difficult to get them into an interview right away because none of them are in the race chat. A lot of other divisions, these guys are in the race chat, they're chatting, they're having a good time, you know. But these guys, there's no time for that. It's full race time when it's.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Do we want P3 first?
Yeah, let's see if we can pull in P3. So Mr. Sir does look like he is available in the chat. Let's talk to him about his battle with Spangler and see if he can shed any more light on what that looked like from his position. Mr. Sir, Dudley Do-Right and Cody Platt here in the booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you great, man. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for putting on a good show out there tonight. It was an interesting race out there. You chose the early pit strategy, maybe a little bit of an undercut idea. Tell us what you were thinking, what it looked like from your perspective.
Kind of team mentality. Didn't want to kill Jeff in front. Felt like I had a little bit more speed at the start. So was hoping to use the tires as much as I could before they completely fell off the face of the earth. So yeah, partly that, and I know we had some server troubles today. So didn't want to have one of those go awry and take us both out and have the rest of the pack benefit. So all in all, pretty happy with the result.
Yeah, it's fantastic result. P3, third step on the podium. What did it feel like? What was going through your mind when you saw Spangler come out of the pit lane right in front of you?
Thinking I had a chance. The McLaren's is so fast when it comes to acceleration that it doesn't matter how much speed I carried into there, and with the tires being close to just non-existing at all. Yeah, not enough grip to take advantage of any speed. So I learned that he misses box, so kind of figured that's why I gained so much time. But yeah, still happy with the result nonetheless. I don't think I was catching those guys at all.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race effort out of you, though, and it was we did see that. Yeah, Spangler did take a little bit longer to the pit lane. You had a perfect pit stop, and you did everything you could, and you brought it home P3. Nothing to be ashamed of there, right?
Not at all. I was telling the guys, first podium of the season. It's long overdue for me, so hopefully we can build on this. If not, keep replicating the effort for the remaining races.
Yeah, you guys are way out front in the team standings, and obviously your teammate Manning is way out front as well in the driver's standings as he's won every race this season. So you guys are doing extremely well. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're in the booth?
Yeah, shout out to Michael for helping me understand some of the lines. Just looking at replay, it's always a very helpful guy when it comes to gaining pace, and helpful to all the Madhouse crew for you know helping me out with this week. So looking forward to Spa. I think it is in the rain. So that's going to be a blast.
Yeah, big time, big time. That is going to be a good race. How do you feel about your pace around Spa in general?
Well, I already saw that the Bop is not in the BMW favor, so that's great. Good start. Um, but rain, I'm always akin to rain, so as long as it does rain, hopefully we should have a good result.
All right, man. Well, fantastic. We look forward to seeing you next week. Cody, you got anything for Mr. Sir?
No, just excellent drive. Congratulations on the first podium this season. It's well deserved, and we're looking forward to seeing more of you.
Well, hopefully I see you guys here in 2 weeks.
Sounds good,
Oh, yeah.
man. We'll send you back to the race chat. Thanks again.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, that was your third place finisher, Mr. Sir, and his BMW teammate to our overall winner tonight, Michael Manning, who looks like he is broadcasting in the chat right now. So I am not going to pull him out immediately. Let's get our second place finisher, Jeff Spangler, up here. Jeff Spangler, Dudley Do-Right, and Cody Platt here in the booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, sure can. Hey, guys.
Hey, Jeff, man, fantastic race tonight. Way to hold on to that P2. You ran that the standard pit strategy, pit way at the end. What did you think? Like, what did it look like to you when you saw Mr. Sir duck into the pit lane from behind you?
Honestly, it was pure relief. And I told him that at the end of the race. I was like, man, it seemed to me, at least in my mirror, and you shouldn't be paying too much attention to your mirror, that he was like taking some different lines. It was kind of spooking me a little bit, because he would draw way up close. So yeah, I figured probably best for both of us. We just went our separate ways, and gave me a lot of clear air and clear air for him. So I was glad. Yeah, it was just sometimes you just get a little spooked. You can't help but look in your mirror. You feel like you're doing everything like you normally would, but the car's just not doing what it should. So I was very glad that he pitted early.
Yeah, I can understand that relief, but hey, fantastic job continuing to put in consistent lap times even without your opponent directly putting pressure on you. It looked like you stayed really consistent. Did you feel good with your setup? Did everything go the way you planned this evening? Was there anything that caught you by surprise?
Yeah, I think it went about as well as it could. After yesterday's practice qualifying race, I was a little worried. But I just knew that I had to go out and just focus on trying not to overwork the tires too much. Tires are your best friends. So I kind of went back and forth sometimes between TC1 and TC2, depending on how it was going. But then spent probably the last quarter of the race in TC1 as the fuel goes out of the McLaren. A lot of times the tires kind of come back to you and the car comes back to you. So yeah, I was just I put in a personal best in race trim and was just really pleased to be able to put in those consistent laps. Unfortunately, they were 3/10 too slow to win the race on average, but hey, that's
Yeah.
the way it is sometimes.
That seems to be the story every week. Do you think anybody's going to be able to bring the challenge to Manning this season, or is he going to win every race?
I mean, we'll see. I'm a bit miffed that the McLaren Super Track next week Spa is going to be wet, but maybe we'll get one of those SRA dry race specials. But even even in the wet, I think the car can be set up pretty well. And as they say, rain's the great equalizer. You never know what can happen. So yeah, just obviously a great season for him. But looking forward to the last couple weeks.
Yeah, fantastic. And you answered the question of what's looking forward to next week. On your way out, anybody you want to give a shout out to here while you're in the booth?
Yeah, obviously, shout out to Michael. Great drive and a great win. Mr. Sir's first podium of the season. It was great fun there at the end. I missed my pit box and was a little worried that I wasn't gonna stay in front of him. Honestly, I had no idea where he was going to come out, so that was a fun last couple laps there. Also, shout out to my teammate Kelvin Lau. I don't know if you guys caught it on stream. It sounded like he had some connection problems with Wilson in front of him, and like
Yes. Yeah.
Wilson teleported back into him several
Yes.
times. I'm glad
Yeah,
he didn't crash, because that happened to me last season.
For sure. We
Michael
commented
actually,
on that. It
yeah.
didn't look like he got any phantom damage from it or anything. So
He did. He was like, "Oh my God, there's another 3 seconds," and he's like, "There's another 5 seconds." So I don't know if he repaired it, but I looked at the standings and or the finishing results, and very happy to see him up at P12. So I also happy birthday to Calvin Lau as well.
Oh, happy birthday, man. Fantastic. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Get to race on your birthday. What's better than that? Cody, you got anything for Jeff before we send him back to the race chat?
No, nothing at all. Just congratulations on P2. It looked super sketchy at the end, but I know you pulled it out and kept it entertaining.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it was fantastic monitoring that pit gap all night, and got super close when you missed your box a little bit there at the end. But fantastic job bringing it home P2, man.
Yeah, appreciate
so
it. Thank you,
close.
guys.
All right, we'll send you back to
Have
the
a good
race chat. Have a good evening. That was your P2 finisher, Jeff Spangler, as he kept those lap times consistent all night. And we are going to interview our race winner, Michael Manning, once more as he continues to dominate this season. Michael Manning, Dudley Do Right, Cody Platt here in the booth. We're getting used to this. Can you hear us all right?
Yes.
Man, can you be beaten?
I'm feeling really good. It's all just working out. Every track, just learning more. I'm really happy with how it's feeling. This race specifically, I could run TC off with how grippy Valencia is, and it felt great throughout the entire race. Even at the end, slides got a little scary, but it was really solid throughout the entire race.
Well, man, you've obviously mastered your craft right now. You are far and away blowing everybody away this season. Perfect so far, I believe, right? Pole every race, win every race.
I'm missing the fastest lap at Kyle on me.
He's keeping track, folks. He's keeping track.
Shame, but
he hasn't gotten the trifecta at everyone.
So it's okay.
You gave somebody a shot, I guess, right?
Right.
Well,
hey, this is a big deal.
Yeah. How do you feel your chances are a little bit of a shakeup with the wet weather next week?
Ooh, it'll be interesting. I don't have any experience in the BMW in the wet. The TC, it feels pretty good in this car, so both electronics. So I'm feeling okay with that. But it's going to be tough. Wet races are always tough. You obviously don't know what the weather is going in. Could be dry for all we know. But yeah. I'm excited for that one. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun one.
For sure. And we look forward to the race action as well. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're here on the top step?
I can shout out Jason Allen again. He's doing great at his job. He's a guy. He's doing great.
He's a guy.
He is a guy.
He's also looking really fast here.
Yeah, he had a very solid practice race. So definitely we'll be watching him tomorrow. Then obviously Spangler and Mr. Sir, Madhouse, very solid races from them. I know they had they came out of the pit very close to each other towards the end, which I haven't actually seen yet. I'm quite interested in that.
Yeah, Spangler missed his box a little bit, and they came out right on top of each other for sure.
Super close.
And man guy people shouting us out in the chat right now saying, remind us again, what's the step above an alien?
No, I'm not even there yet. I'm still a step below all the EU folk, so still something to gain. Still pace to top.
There's always somebody to go try to beat, right?
Yeah.
Well, fantastic job again, man. Congratulations as you continue to extend your lead in the championship. We will send you back to the race chat.
Thank you for having me.
Congrats, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, that was your race winner for race 5. Won every race this season so far, Michael Manning. And we will get one more interview in here if we can find him. I'd like to get Andrew Wilson, our silver winner, in here if we can find him in the chat anywhere. We always like to try to interview our silver drivers because they are out there doing a fantastic job as well. I do not see him, unfortunately, in any of the chats.
I think that is an awesome thing to do. I reached out to him. I just sent him a text, actually, and let's give him a hot second to see if he'll join.
Yeah, let's see if we can get him in here. I'd love to get his perspective. It looked like we had some pretty good battles back there in the silver division in general, and we always want to highlight that as much as possible. But fantastic racing overall tonight at Valencia. Unfortunate to anybody that had track limit penalties or any other unfortunate circumstances. It seemed like we had a pretty big pile up there on lap 1 where a few drivers got involved. But other than that, very clean, very good racing, and always a joy to watch here at Division 1 and SRA. If you're in the chat right now and you have never heard of SRA or you don't know what's going on with this group, I encourage you to check out our website, sra.gg, check out the Discord, and get involved with this awesome community and some awesome sim racing.
Yeah, and we saw some awesome driving from him. Kind of, there was a little bit of unfortunate things that happened in silver, but where he finished was kind of far and away from the next silver driver, I think, somehow. And like I was saying, I'm pretty sure he gained 10 positions in this race, so kind of just a ridiculous result, not one that I was necessarily anticipating.
Yeah, and it's funny because he was also having those connection issues, it looked like, but he maintained it through that, and I'm sure that was freaky for him too, because I'm sure on his end, he probably popped up somewhere where all of a sudden he was like inside of somebody else's car for a split second possibly, and that can really freak you out. So fantastic shout out to him. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we are going to get him in for an interview tonight as we have to wrap things up here. But thanks for joining us again in the chat. Thanks to everybody who supports SRA. Thanks to all our awesome admins. Big thanks to Cody Platt for jumping in the booth with me tonight. Cody, concluding thoughts on this?
Concluding thoughts. It was an awesome race. Not as much overtaking as a lot of the other tracks we've seen so far this season, but qualifying was super intense and super close. And as was the end of the race with, 5 out of the top 6 drivers finishing within 1 second of each other was really awesome to see.
Really fantastic all the way around. Look forward to doing it again soon. Be sure to tune in next time as we bring you a wet race for round 6 in Spa, where we bring you our season 10 Division 1 action. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all next time.